Welcome, y'all to Real Reviews, your number one place for the best reviews and reactions to your favorite shows, movies, music, and more. UFC 242, Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. What a card and what a main event. I am not going to get too much into the other fights on the card in this video. What I really wanted to do is break down the main event, some things that happened during the fight that were significant, and some things that will be significant now for the future. So let's kind of give a quick breakdown of the fight. So Khabib the Eagle is 27-0, one of the best grapplers to ever step foot in the octagon. His sambo wrestling is miles above any form of ground control or any kind of ground and pound or any ground game period that we've seen in the octagon thus far. He totes a 27, now 28-0 record in UFC MMA setting, which is ridiculous. That is unheard of. This dude is a beast. His challenger, Dustin Poirier, is the opposite. He is not the most dominant fighter. He has 5 losses, now 6 after this event, and he has been knocked out, stopped, pieced up before, all kinds of good stuff. But nonetheless, he is a very game challenger, a very competent, accurate striker, a high volume pressure striker, and he has decent ground game. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but as far as in the octagon, he has shown some great awareness and control on the ground. That being said, I would like to talk about 3 things that I saw in this fight that were significant and that will play a role in the future. Number 1, this was not as lopsided as we've seen Khabib fights in the past. Khabib did have a ton of ground control and did have a ton of dominance on the ground, but Dustin was giving him a hard time. Khabib was unable to let his ground and pound off. Khabib was unable to hold Dustin in one position for long periods of time. Dustin was able to wrestle him off. Dustin was able to even almost flip him a couple times, but unable to break Khabib's grip. But Dustin was doing well on the ground, defending himself. He was doing well. He was doing great. Number 2, Khabib was hurt in this fight or in danger twice. Khabib was in big trouble twice. Khabib was in trouble in the second round when Dustin was hitting him and wobbling him. He wobbled him and not hit him about 3 good times and have Khabib backpedaling. While he was backpedaling, Dustin was able to kick him. Dustin was able to land quite a few good shots before Khabib was finally able to secure a takedown. That was significant. We have never seen Khabib in this much trouble on the feet before. People can say, oh, Michael Johnson wobbled him. Not like this. Dustin had him on the back foot for about 30 seconds to a minute, landing some decent shots before Khabib was finally able to take him back to the ground. Secondly, in the third round, Dustin was able to secure a guillotine that was super tight. Khabib's neck was pinched in that guillotine. You cannot debate that. Khabib was in a tight guillotine in the third round. People were wondering whether or not maybe that would result in some kind of tap out or submission. It was crazy. But nonetheless, Khabib, being the seasoned grappler that he is, was obviously able to break out of that takedown and eventually secure the finish via rear naked choke. So not too much to say, but that guillotine had Khabib in trouble. Those strikes in the second round and the guillotine attempt in the third round was the deepest waters we've ever seen Khabib in, period. And that's saying a lot because neither one of those was enough to finish Khabib. And now this brings me to my third and final point. Dustin Poirier made mistakes in this fight. Dustin Poirier made mistakes in this fight. There was a ton of opportunities for him to either escape the ground control, for him to implement offense either on the ground or on the feet, that he was unable to do so. There was even events where Dustin Poirier would look up at the clock or at his coaches while Khabib was on top of him. If you rewatch the fight, you'll notice in the first round, as soon as Khabib made contact with Dustin, Dustin looked up to his coaches, obviously not confident in his own ability. Naturally, that comes with Khabib, on top of you, but that was a very sloppy amateurish kind of behavior that we saw from Dustin in this fight. It happened again in the third round. Once Khabib had Dustin on the floor, Dustin looked up either at the clock or at his coaches, and that actually was when Khabib was able to sink in the rear naked choke. So there was amateur sloppy decision making by Dustin Poirier in this fight. However, his talent and preparation was able to secure him 2 instances where he had Khabib in trouble. This brings me to my final point of the video, which is I believe that Khabib needs to watch his back after this fight. Nobody is going to say it. Everybody's going to say Khabib is the dominant fighter, the dominant champion, blah, blah, blah. And he is. But in this fight, I believe that in his next contest with Tony Ferguson, he needs to be on his best behavior. Dustin Poirier really exploited those holes in his stand-up in this fight. He exposed a hole in his ground game. He exposed 2 things: that Khabib can be hit on the feet and wobbled, and possibly even submitted on the ground. It was crazy to see. What does that say about Khabib's next contender matchup with Tony El Kukui Ferguson, the larger, longer, competent striker and much more competent grappler who will not make the little mental mistakes that we witnessed Dustin Poirier make in this fight? What will happen next in the lightweight division when Khabib takes on Tony Ferguson, who is currently on a 13 or 14 win streak with plenty of wrestling pedigree and plenty of striking expertise? What will happen? That is the one thing I took away from this fight. Great victory for Khabib. Great effort by Dustin. Now moving forward, the next matchup with Tony Ferguson is a lot more interesting considering the events that took place in UFC 242's main events. Let me know, guys, what y'all think about what I said in this video, what y'all think about the future of the lightweight division, including Khabib's upcoming bout with Ferguson, because that's been confirmed, or at least, claimed by Dana White to be the next fight. And let me know what y'all thought about the events that took place in this fight, including the second round striking of Dustin, the third round guillotine attempt, and Khabib's obviously once again dominant 28-0 prowess in the UFC octagon. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to keep tuning into Real Reviews as I try to put as much content on here as possible in the next few weeks or so. Y'all have a great rest of your day.